وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. So continuing on our conversation from last week on arrogance and recognizing it, here he differentiates between pride and arrogance, and how pride is something that we can have, and how did we differentiate between pride and arrogance? And pride not in the sense of being proud, but if I'm proud of an accomplishment, or I'm proud of an action, or proud that I got a new job, then how is that different from arrogance? Or are they the same thing? Sure. So he talks about like considering oneself great is not necessarily arrogance, and part of that is like, for example, if I win a race and I'm proud that I won that race, is that a problem? Or is that equivalent to arrogance? Okay.
It's okay to think you're great, but if you think you're better than others.
So now you mentioned an important point, and that's when you have a second party that's involved. And we had said that the difference between arrogance, which is when you start comparing yourself to others, and there's something like, if I'm arrogant within myself, what did we call that? You guys remember the term? Self what? Self what? Self-admiration, right? Self-admiration, or what we call vanity. So like, is it possible that a person is very vain and they think very highly of themselves, like, and it doesn't have anything to do with anyone else? Yeah, right? That's definitely there, and that's a real thing. But when it comes to arrogance, it actually comes to comparing ourselves with others. Well, someone might argue, well, in a race, aren't you better than the other racers? Yes? Okay. How come that's okay? I'm sorry? I'm not putting them down. I'm like, okay.
You're not actively trying to like not make them win too, right? You may not necessarily want to win. You want yourself to win. You're
Absolutely.
not actively thwarting that.
Okay, so I'm not being malicious, right? So I'm not thwarting the fact that they're racing, like, so that would be more oppression, right? So if I tried to hurt others, so like before the race, like I slip in something in their drink, or like, you know what I mean? Like, or I try to, somebody hurts them, I hire somebody to hurt them, right? That's definitely a problem, but that's a problem that's outside of arrogance, right? That's a type of oppression. But in a race, if I beat other people and I feel I'm better than those people, how do I feel I'm better? Walaikum salam. Do I feel I'm a better person? Right? It's like I feel like I have a better skill than others. It doesn't mean that as a whole I think I'm what? I'm a better person than them, right? Because when you're racing, the only thing that we're pitting against each other is our speed. Does that make sense? Right? I'm not pitting my courage, my generosity. Like, it's not a judgment of the whole of the person. It's in that particular skill set. Does that make sense? So, can I be better than someone at speaking, and admit that and recognize that, or is that arrogance? If I'm like, you know, I think I speak better than Ahmed, is that arrogant? Okay.
I feel like it is.
Oh.
Is there a skill there? I feel like that's kind of tricky. Yeah. Musa Islam, he didn't speak as eloquently as
His brother.
And so he recognized his brother was better at speaking than him.
Sure.
So in reverse, if now I think I speak better than my brother, maybe it's me being aware of my skill, not necessarily bringing that person down.
So it's interesting. All of you kind of are tying it in with this one idea of when you're comparing skills, then it's okay to have a recognition of being above or below. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. You said that no, it can be arrogance. How?
I think if you, let's say, because you think you speak better than somebody else, you give them less opportunities.
Okay. So over here, you're putting a clause.
Oh, okay.
Right? You're saying because no. If in a vacuum by itself, I think I'm more well-spoken or I speak better than Ahmed.
Okay, then maybe not.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, if I start adding all this other stuff, what do you guys think about that? Right, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. Right? If I start preventing this person, or I start, you know what I mean? This is where you have different types of issues, but even stopping someone, I want to be clear in that are there situations like, yeah, I think I'm more well-spoken than Ahmed, and I'm in charge now of placing speakers. And I actively don't choose him. Is that a problem? Why? Okay.
And I'm taking up space from someone else who's not in leadership. They're waiting for my approval.
Sure. And if I don't think they're well spoken?
I'm not giving them space to grow.
Sure. So I'll give another example. I run a factory. And the job in this factory is to weld on this panel onto a car. And 5 people I know, in my opinion, they weld very well, and the 6th person doesn't weld very well. Should I open up the opportunity for that person who doesn't weld well? So I want you to think about it from like at a business level and in a safety level too. Yes or no? Because now there's responsibility that's associated with that. Because if I allow this person who doesn't weld well to put panels in every 6 cars, now for every 6th car, what can happen? An accident. And the same thing with someone who isn't well spoken. That I put them in a position that they're not ready for, what happens? They can cause more harm than good. So what should I do? It depends. Because if this person, number one, what is the most important skill in many jobs that we need if I'm in a leadership position? And if someone is approaching me and like, hey, listen, I want to do this job. Right, qualifications, skills, like I need to know that the person is proficient in those skills. Okay, what if he's not super proficient? What do I need then? Okay, so in order for a person to take a pathway, what other characteristic am I going to look for as a leader? Humility. So, because I can have someone, and I know that that person is like mediocre, but they're like, why do you want to take this job? Well, this is something I'm really passionate about, and it's something I want to learn, and I'm hoping to come into the space because I know that that's something I can get better at, and I want opportunities for that. Versus, oh, why do you want this job? Oh, I've always loved this job, and I want to do this. It's like, okay, cool. We have trainings and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't need all that. Is that someone who I want to work with? No, it's not. Because they think when it comes to that craft and that skill, they've what? Right, they've mastered it. They think they've peaked. And if somebody feels like they've mastered something, what can I teach them? Nothing. If anything, what's going to happen? They're going to try to teach me. And someone might be like, okay, well, what gives me the authority? Right. I was hired for that position. Right? I was hired for that position. There are people who thought I had that skill set, and they put me in, and now they've entrusted me too.
It's your job to make sure.
Right? It's my job to filter.
Yeah.
Now, can I be oppressive in my filtering? Yeah, I can. It's like, oh, I don't want people from this nationality, or I don't want people from this gender, right? Like I can do those things, and that's wrong, right? I shouldn't do those things, but that's a very separate conversation, right? That's a very different one. Versus understanding and seeing skills. And I think all of us are in a different position. And even if I don't enter the corporate world or I don't enter the professional world, at what other times and what other spaces will it be important for me to recognize skills? Huh? Okay, as a student, okay. Where is that going to come in handy? It's a good example. As a student. Why is it important for me to learn and recognize skills?
I feel like as a student you're like constantly advancing skills that you can become good at, and that's why it's better to someone who is good at it.
Right. So from the student, I'm not seeking skills from other. Well, I can seek skills from other students, like, hey, how do you take notes? How do you record this? Hey, I saw you using that, right? So we can always kind of up our student game and like kind of do better in that. But what am I constantly doing when I'm attending different classes? I'm sorry? Okay, asking questions for sure. Am I judging teachers? Right, you have to, right? So if I go to different classes in different spaces, I'm judging the teacher. And sometimes we use different cues to judge teachers. What a major cue that we use, unfortunately, right, and this is something that's common in all of us, how popular is he or how popular is she, right? That's usually the one major gauge that we all use. Because in popularity, what am I looking for? I'm sorry?
Like you
Right, so social validation is something that's there. What else? Well, part of that social validation is like, well, if so many people trust her, then, right, there must be something of value there. And what's interesting in that is like, okay, you know what? I don't think that's a bad gauge, if I'm being honest. It's like, okay, well, obviously this person has something to offer, otherwise they wouldn't be so popular. Should that be my only gauge? No. I can use that as a means to kind of enter the door and be like, okay, let me see where he's at. Let me see where she's at. What else should I be looking for? As a student, what other skills do I want? What do I want from a teacher? Right? I hope the teacher is honest. How can I gauge honesty? And remember, we're not masters, right? We're not masters. It's not like I have the ability to cross-reference everything that this person says, right? That's why we're students. So that's testing, right? Is it okay to test your teacher? It's kind of a double-edged sword, right? You know, testing. But I think a very reasonable, fair way is asking authentic questions and comparing his or her answers to the answers of others, right? So, and that's an easy way of judging and gauging honesty, because sometimes what happens is like, okay, you know, I asked him, and I asked him, and I asked him. These two actually said something very similar, and this person, it doesn't even sound like they knew what I was asking, right? And that happens. Now, is that a judge of this teacher as a whole? No, it might just mean like he or she didn't know the answer to that question. But once it becomes a pattern, what happens? Now you lose trust, right? So that honesty we're talking about, that's exactly what honesty is. Honest meaning, is he honest to the information that he's giving us? Is he honest to that knowledge base? Does he or she have that exposure where they're able to present a meaningful argument? Other skills we should look for. When I go to that class, am I walking away with something meaningful? Or, and one of the ways of honesty that sometimes is difficult for us, and again, something that we've all experienced, that I'll attend a class, and when it comes to an Islamic context, or even a non-Islamic one, they'll throw around a lot of jargon, right? They'll throw around a lot of these big words, and in an Islamic context, they'll do what? They'll throw around a lot of Arabic. And why is that happening? I'm sorry. Yeah. You can take your chair. It's fine. So, why am I using a lot of jargon? Why am I throwing around a lot of big words? Why am I using Arabic? Why is the teacher doing that?
To appeal to certain people, like, or to make it, it's like this persona kind of, maybe.
Okay. MashaAllah, you guys assume a lot of sincerity. What is another reason? Right, you want to flex, right? That's what you do, right? It's like, no. In order for me to impress others with my knowledge, I'm going to use a lot of terms that they are not familiar with, right? That's a very easy way to impress an audience. So again, these are very important skills as a student. And how do I gauge that? You know, I'm walking away from this class and I don't really remember anything. But the problem is we go back to that first gauge. It's like, well, then why did you go to the class? Because it was a vibe. And again, it depends on the reason of why I'm going to a class. If I'm going to a class because I want the barakah of the gathering, is that a good reason? 100%. Go. Like, listen, go to any gathering. Go to any gathering. You think that there's benefit there. You think, you want to take part in the blessing. Bismillah. I would encourage it 100%. Even if I walk away with 1% of the information that's there, that's fine. I walked away from a blessing. I used my time in a meaningful way. Right? I was around other Muslims. Like there's a lot of good that comes from that. And if that is my reason for attending a lot of these gatherings, or for social reasons, okay. Is being around other Muslims a problem? No, it's not. It's good. It's a vibe, right? These things are important. But if I'm actually going to seek knowledge, and if I'm going to increase my understanding, then what is the things I should be walking away with? I should be walking away with knowledge. Okay, what is knowledge? Okay, So something that added to my information, right? So information is one way of understanding knowledge. What else? Oh, right. Something that's practicable, right? Something that I can implement in my life. Absolutely. Okay, a feeling can be part of it, right? The problem with feelings is that sometimes they can betray us, right? Like I can walk into a gathering and I can walk away and I'm like, man, I feel amazing. What was the topic? I don't really remember. How do I feel though? I feel great. I feel good. Again, I'm not here to diminish that. I think that's fine. I think sometimes, what do we need? We just need that spiritual refresher. Sometimes we do need to feel good. Sometimes we do need to feel validated. And I think that's fine. The problem I have is if that consistently becomes the goal, that I'm just looking for my dopamine hit. That's not what these classes are for. These classes are here to challenge us. These classes are here so that we can grow. These classes are here so that they can push us. These classes are here so that we make meaningful relationships with ourselves and we make meaningful relationships with our teachers so that every time we have a problem or an issue, we know exactly who to speak to or who to discuss. That's what they're for. And why can I say that? Because what relationship is that representative of? So that relationship of seeking a mentor, strengthening bonds between each other, developing meaningful relationships, being able to implement what I'm learning, increasing my knowledge and information base. What major relationship do we have in Islam that is representative of? The Prophet and his companions, right? The Prophet ﷺ, how was his relationship with the companions? Like, they loved being around him. They loved his company. They loved hearing him speak. Every time he walked into a room, what happened? Like, their faces would light up. They'd be so excited. Like, these are the relationships that we should be building with each other, because that's even how they dealt with each other. The companions, they would say things about themselves, like, if one of my brothers needed something from me, he would put his hand in my pocket, he would take what he would need, and he would leave, and I wouldn't care. And subhanAllah, that's so telling in both ways, yes? That they know that the person who's coming to take what they need, how much are they going to take? Just what they need. Just what they need. Why? Because they fear Allah and their brother. And the person who's allowing it, his generosity is like, no, I'm here to help my brothers and sisters. Right? That's what I'm here for. So they were able to build those meaningful relationships with each other and meaningful relationship with their teacher, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. That's what we should be getting out of these classes. Again, having that occasional dopamine hit, going out, the vibe, whatever, like it's a social thing, that's fine. Those things are fine. It's like, oh, why are you attending classes? Oh, I'm looking to get married. That's fine. Like these things are all halal. There's nothing wrong with any of those things. But I have to understand that one of the main purposes and the main goals of such classes is education. And that education has to look the way it was to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the way that it looked to the companions. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said very, very clearly, مَن يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِخَيْرًا يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ. That whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intends good for, He gives him understanding of the religion. So if I have a teacher who's actually able to help me understand and grasp, what does that mean? It's like, okay, these concepts look very large, they look very difficult, they look very challenging, but alhamdulillah, when I come to this class, I'm able to walk away with something very palatable. I'm able to walk away with something that I can implement. I'm able to walk away, if somebody asked me, I would be able to explain it to them. Knowledge isn't throwing around a bunch of big words. That's not. That's just showing off. That's all it is. Knowledge is actually able to understand concepts. Like, what are some things that we should be able to walk away from this class? I should understand what arrogance is. I should understand what vanity is. Right? These are very simple things. I should understand what humility is. I should understand how the relationship between what is perceived arrogance and what is actual inner arrogance. And these are things we should all be able to walk away from. And if I'm not understanding those things, then this class is not being taught in the way that it needs to be. So that's why it's important to understand these skills. And that's why it's okay to compare skills. Meaning that I can say this teacher is better than that teacher. That doesn't mean that I feel this teacher is closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than the other one. Right? That's not what we're saying. Meaning that his ability to teach and his ability to relay information is better than that teacher's. That's it. So comparing skill sets, that's something that's healthy, that's something that's normal, and that's something that needs to happen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, فَلْيَتَنَافِسِ الْمُتَنَافِسُونَ, that all of you will compete getting into paradise. Not compete in a negative way, right? I'm I'm not going to step on somebody else so that I can make it into Jannah. Right? That's not the purpose. But just like in a race, like we're all racing, we all want to do good deeds, meaning that sometimes there's opportunities for only one person to do that deed. I should hope what? That it's me. That I'm the one that was able to do it. It's like, hey, listen, we need $10,000 for this project. Here's $10,000. Now nobody else has an opportunity. Not because I wanted to stop anyone, but because I wanted to be first. And that's the attitude that we should have. Like, what about putting other people down? What do you guys think about that? I'm sorry? It's mean? Do we put each other down sometimes? Do we make fun of each other? Is that a problem? It depends. Okay, cool. It depends on what? Okay, it depends on the relationship. Like, if I just walk up to someone and I was like, man, your shoes are really ugly. He's like, wait, what? Like, no, I'm just joking. Is that appropriate? No, that's just being mean, right? That's just being insulting. Like, what about what happens between friends? Is that okay? Is that acceptable? To what extent? Okay, how do I determine that?
If they're actually offended and you feel hurt by it,
Mm-hmm.
They should like clear boundaries.
yeah.
Okay. So how do we clear those boundaries? I'm sorry? We have to communicate that. It's like, bro, you said that, I didn't really appreciate that. And what happens? If my friend respects that I said that, and they don't bring that up again, how do I feel about them? Good. Like, I respect this person. It's like, okay, cool. I told him not to do something, and he is listening to what it is that I'm having to say. And someone might say, like, oh, why do you need to make fun in the first place? Ridiculing each other it's very lighthearted, and it's one of those things I would say that I don't highly encourage it, but it does build resilience within our friend circle. Because if I know how to take, and I'm using this in a very light way, but if I know how to take abuse from my friends, what happens? It becomes easier to navigate spaces when I actually face abuse. Does that make sense? Because in that space, it's actually, and I don't use this term a lot, but that actually is a safe space, right? It's safe in the sense that I know this person, even with whatever it is that they're saying, they still what? They still care about me and they still respect me, right? Because they're not intentionally trying to do what? They're not malicious, right? They're not intentionally trying to hurt me. They're just joking, right? And sometimes it's a way for us to point out weaknesses in each other, in the sense that, you know, there's a young man, like he was in our circle and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, bro, iron your clothes, dude. Like, how are you gonna come here and like with unironed clothes? That don't make no sense. I was belittling him, I was making fun of him, but the thing is, it's like, okay, why? Because the point I was trying to get across is like, hey, listen, come presentable. Even though it was in a way that was joking and jesting. And if we understand that we're not malicious, and we understand that, you know, sometimes it can be for us to kind of build our stamina, to build our resilience, it becomes so much easier for us to navigate the world. Because one of the biggest problems we have today is we don't have resilience, right? The moment a person criticizes me, the moment a person disagrees, not even criticize, the moment a person disagrees with me, I have no idea how to handle and manage disagreement. So as Muslims, will we disagree? Absolutely. Like all the time. It's totally normal. I remember there was a conversation I was having about Eid. And they're like, you know, why can't we just all make Eid together and this and that? I was like, yo, listen, honestly, it'd be nice if we did. But if we did make Eid together, like, is it going to solve all the Muslim problems in the world? Probably not. Like, it's like instead of a list of 100, it's going to be like 99. So that differing was always be there. And it's amazing how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He describes us as ikhwa. Right? He says, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ ikhwa. He says that the believers are a fraternity, right? The believers are a brotherhood. And what does he immediately start with? He says, فَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَ أَخْوَيْكُمْ. He says, do sulh, bring your brothers together. Meaning what? That because you're brothers, what's going to happen? And for those of you who have brothers, you're going to clash, you're going to fight, right? It's very natural. Blood brothers, right? Same mother, same father, same upbringing, everything. And very fundamentally, we're going to have differences. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says our relationship as believers is just like that. That we are brothers, and we are going to fight, and we're going to disagree. Do the best that you can to do sulh. Do the best that you can to reconcile. And if I see two brothers fighting, what should I do? Let them? Sometimes. What else? I should try to mend it, right? Like, I should try to reconcile. It's like, okay, hey, listen. Hey, guys, what's going on? Like, what's the big deal? Why are you guys fighting? Well, he said this, and it was like, he said that. But I was like, okay, what did you mean by that? What did you mean by that? It's like, okay, can you guys agree to disagree?
Yeah.
Right? And that's something that's a very important skill. It's a very important skill to have, because I can never have everybody agree with me on every single thing. And the only way that I'll have that is through resilience. And it's through humility, in recognizing and understanding and knowing that not everybody's going to agree with me. Right? People will differ with me. I have to respect that. I have to. Because if I don't respect other people's opinions, I will never be able to move forward. And they could be fundamentally different from mine, and that's fine too. Because at the end of the day, do I need to have a relationship with everybody? No. And as brothers, my fundamental responsibility is not to be your friend. I don't have to be friends with every Muslim on earth. That's not my job. But if I see a Muslim, regardless of where he's from, regardless of who he is, regardless of his background, and I see him being oppressed and hurt, what do I need to do? I need to stand up for him. Right? That's what I have to do. That's what brotherhood is. Essentially, if I had to summarize brotherhood, that's what it is. That I don't allow my brother to be oppressed. I don't allow my brother to be hurt. Maybe I'll hurt him sometimes. Right? Like, maybe I'll engage with him. Maybe I'll fight with him. But if I see someone else outside of my circle, outside of the brotherhood, trying to take advantage of him, what am I going to do? I'm going to stand up for him. So he said, true arrogance requires there are three elements, three major elements to that arrogance. Recognizing ranks for oneself and others, meaning that where do I put myself? I put myself as a person. Remember, we're talking about a whole. We're not talking about skills. But as a whole, I'm putting myself above others. Seeing myself, thinking I'm where? Thinking I'm on this pedestal and everybody is beneath me. And lastly, believing one's rank is superior to others. So basically now, it's this issue of, okay, all right, there's me, there are these other people, I'm on this pedestal, and there's these ranks, and I recognize them and I see them. What is Ghazali telling us here, essentially? What do I need to do? As a Muslim, as a human being, how do I need to walk through life? What do I need to see when I look at other people? Okay, that everybody has some benefit to offer. But when it comes to these ranks, what do I need to do as a human being? I need to remove them. How can I do that? You know, I said, well, this guy is using drugs. Well, this guy is in a haram relationship. But this one's doing this. Okay, I can make excuses. The guy who's in a haram relationship, or the guy who's drunk. Sometimes so I think coming up with excuses for reasonable situations is fine. It's like, hey man, yo, do you smell that brother, man? Like he smelled like weed, man. Right? Like, and I don't know him to smoke. I don't know him to smoke. What can I do in that situation? Right? At that point, I can come up with excuses. I can be like, maybe he was around other people, maybe he went into a certain place, maybe somebody gave him a ride and the car smelled like weed, right? So I think that's okay. But if somebody is like drunk, if somebody's drunk in front of me, they're clearly drunk, can I be like, oh no, he's just really tired? You know what I mean? Like, I think excuses have to be within the realm of reason. What else can I do? So I remove these ranks. But what does that mean? What does that look like? How can I practically do that? How do I remove those ranks? Ahsant. Perfect. So the first thing I need to do is I need to be reflective, right? Introspective. That's step one. Because the moment I'm introspective, what am I not worried about? I'm not worried about other people. What else do I need to understand? Sure, everybody has their own struggles. I agree with that 100%. Right? It's not a zero-sum game, right? So the only way for me to be in paradise is to be better than that person. That's not how that works. Okay, good. What else can I do? Huh? I can mind you, just like you're saying. Like, I can mind my business. And be like, okay, no, this is about me. I'm sorry? Okay, lowering my gaze, absolutely. Like, just not looking, not engaging with other people in that way. Also, is it even possible for me to do this? No, I'm saying practically. Is it possible for me to say, okay, yeah, she's definitely level 7 Iman, and he might be like a 6, he's like a 12, right? Can I do that? It's not even possible. So how is it that I have the ability to judge someone else? Well, there can be people, I'll give you guys the story of the Ghamidi woman. This woman, she came to the Prophet ﷺ, and she says to him, Ya Rasulullah, I made zina. I committed zina. He said, are you pregnant? She's like, I don't know. He's like, come back to me when you show signs of pregnancy. She says, okay, and she leaves. She comes back. He says, Ya Rasulullah, I'm pregnant. He said, what? He said, come back after you give birth. She comes back again. And he says, Ya Rasulullah, I give birth. He says, okay, when the child can feed independently, come back again. Basically, what was he telling her? Go make istighfar. Go back and don't what? Don't come back to me. He wanted her to go and make tawbah. He didn't want to do what? He didn't want to punish her. He wanted to give her the opportunity, like, listen. And how do we know that? Did he send anyone and be like, okay, hey, listen, you two keep an eye on her? Every single time, how did she come to the Prophet ﷺ? Because she was dragged, because the police caught her. What happened? It was voluntary. It was voluntary every single time. And this last time she comes back to him, right? This is the 4th witnessing on herself. Yes? Right, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 4th witness against herself, where she says, Ya Rasulullah, and she showed the Prophet ﷺ the baby eating food, like he had some bread in his mouth. So he said, okay. And they executed her. And the execution for zina in Islam is what? Is stoning. As they were stoning her, some of her blood got onto the clothing of one of the companions. And he yelled at her, he said, Ya najasa. He's like, oh, you impure woman. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said to him, he's like, you see this whole valley? He's like, yeah. He said, her forgiveness, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy has descended to fill this entire valley and forgive everybody who's in it. And this is a woman that did what? Zina. And zina in Islam, by agreement, is a major sin, yes? But this level of tawbah, are there individuals who maybe didn't even and never committed zina in their lives who would not receive that level of forgiveness? It's possible. Meaning what? We never know. Like, there's no way for us to know. There's no way for us to know what Allah accepts from us and what Allah rejects from us. Maybe it might be a small deed, right? We spent our whole lives in prayer, we spent our whole lives fasting, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, yeah, Allah, like, well, why are you admitting me into your paradise? Well, I really liked it when you were walking by that homeless man and you gave him some money and you said, hey, listen, if you need anything, give me a call. We just don't know where Allah's mercy is going to descend on us. We have no idea. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to increase our chances, right? Like everything we do, we're trying to increase our chances that maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take one thing from us. Because we're not deserving. Like, we don't need any. Like, I don't deserve any of the things that I have. I can say that for surety. So what do? I just keep making efforts. I keep trying. I keep hoping. I keep asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness and to accept. We just keep making that effort. How many of you guys know, like Bella and Gigi Hadid? Yeah. You know who built this masjid? Their father. And some of them might be like, what? And you would imagine that he's somebody who's not involved, has nothing to do with this. I gave a khutbah in Palestine and I posted on Instagram and he liked it. And I'm not saying this because I think he's an exemplary person. Like, please don't misunderstand. We never know. Never. You just don't know where someone is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And sometimes all it takes is like that one deed. You guys know the story of the prostitute who went into the well? A prostitute. Her entire income, by agreement, haram. She just gave a dog water. That's it. She saw the dog was thirsty. She had some mercy on that dog. Yeah, she believed in Allah. She was like, well, the dog's thirsty. Like, it only makes sense to give it water. We don't know. We just don't know. It's impossible. And that's why, we should never fall into this. We should never feel we're better than anyone. We should always just work on ourselves. And regardless of where other people are, not just that, why does it matter where other people are? Right? Is the path to Jannah crowded? Right? Is it so crowded? Is there going to be a time be like, okay, no, hey, we hit the ticket counter. We hit the limit. No one else is in here. Is that how Jannah is? No, man. Jannah is unlimited. There's more than enough space for everyone. Why do we treat it like it's tight? Or why do we treat it like, oh, if I make it, then he can't make it. Or if he makes it, I can't make it. That's not how it is. The path to Jannah is wide. The path to Jannah is open. All we have to do is follow it. Right? It's not easy, right? There's difficulty, and there's challenges, and there's restrictions. There's no doubt about it. But that we still have to make that effort. And if we understand that, okay, there are other people who are making that effort, does their effort need to look like mine? No. The path of the Sadiq, right? The one who's seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who's seeking paradise, it's a very individual path. Right? That's something, it's unique for me. It's unique to me. I don't need to do stuff because other people are doing it. What are the things I have to do? Right, the pillars. Those are the things I have to do. What are the things I have to stay away from? Major sins, right? Lying, stealing, backbiting, zina, riba, all of these things, haram. Everything else, the door's open. Right? We have a lot of opportunities. The doors of Jannah are many, and all of them are for different deeds and different things. We just have to choose what it is that we want to do, how we want to contribute. But it shouldn't be based off looking off others. So, over here, the ego, there are three things that feed the ego. This self-recognition, this actualization, right? I actually start acting on that, and this belief I'm better. Yes? Sure. Oh, perceptions. So there are three elements to arrogance. Number one, seeing that there are ranks. Number one, I have to believe that there are ranks that I have access to and that I can see. Because in reality, are there ranks? Are there some people who are better than others? Yes, there are. Is there any way for me to see that or know that? No. I can feel and I can think certain people are good and better, yes or no? Right? Why? Because those are the people I want to be around. Does it make sense for me to be around people who are just degenerates? And be like, well, I don't know they're standing with Allah. Does that make sense? No, that's not the purpose of this either. Right? The purpose of this is to see, and to understand, no, there aren't any ranks. The reality is those ranks, they can't exist for me because I don't have access to them. I don't know where anybody else stands. But what is my job as an individual, as a Muslim? I should always seek what type of people? I should seek righteous people, right? Maybe I don't know what the ranks are, but I want to see or be around people who I believe have a higher rank or have a higher station, right? That's something that's important. And then part of arrogance is seeing and thinking I have a rank, right? I have a position. And it's oh, okay, well, this is my rank and this is my position. Is there any way for me to know that? No. What are some things that I can know that might be motivating for me? If I want to know if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is happy with me, what are some things I should look for in my life? Huh? So if I'm a good person, Allah give me more money, give me a better job, I get a nicer house. Okay, how do I know He's accepting my du'as? And what du'as am I making? So, and another question, okay, if I don't see the manifestation of those du'a, does that mean that He's rejecting them? That's a tough gauge. I'm sorry? Ahsant. Perfect. If I'm regular in my prayers, then that is a sign that Allah is accepting them. right? If I'm able to continuously give sadaqah, that's a sign that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is accepting it. Why? Because He's opening the doors for me to do more good. What else should I look for? Or is that enough? Okay, qada. Like being content, right? And being content is that I actually, just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is happy with me, I should feel happy with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Absolutely. What are some other things I should look for? Okay, right? So if I'm facing trials and I'm facing tribulations and I'm facing hardships, those can be a sign that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving me pathways to draw near to Him. And sometimes we don't associate that with His pleasure. Right? It's like, man, things are so hard. Like, I got sick, I lost my job, like I'm fighting with my wife. Like, like we have all of these things happen like one after another. We're like, what is the natural thinking? That Allah is very, right? He's very displeased, He's very unhappy with me. No. Allah is giving me a pivot opportunity to grow through these hardships so that I can, it's like a flower blooming. Right? Like going through that seed, going through that difficulty, going through that hardship. But if the seed doesn't go through that, it can't be strong enough to actually break the shell. Right? It can't. It needs that difficulty. And it's the same thing with us. If we want our iman to bloom, then it has to go through that difficulty. Right? We have to go through the ringer. What else should I look for? Mm-hmm. Okay. Being pleased with the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me. Absolutely. And what should I be seeking in my family? But this is what I want for them. But I'm saying, what is it that I should be observing to help give me a gauge on where I stand with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I'm sorry? My family's happy with me. Yes. And not just my family. It's amazing. In the hadith of the wali, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says to the angels that His slave who does good deeds, right? His slave who does good deeds, that He Azza wa Jal, He says about him that I love him. And when I love him, I tell the angels to love him. And then where do those angels go? They descend on the earth, and what happens? The love of that person spreads. Does that mean that there won't be individuals who hate him? Right, the most beloved being to ever exist. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, did he have enemies? 100%. But the people that loved him, they really loved him. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if I want to see, like, does Allah love me? One very easy, good gauge, do the people around me love me? And we're not talking about love like infatuation, no, people who genuinely care about me. Like when we talk about love, people who genuinely care about you, what are some of the things for me to know that a person cares about me and a person loves me? Okay, they support me. Good. That they give me advice. Right? They see me doing something wrong. They didn't appreciate something that I did. They didn't like the way I spoke. Maybe they didn't like a question that I asked. What do? Like, hey, listen, when you said this, when you did this. Another good characteristic of a friend, they hear something about you from someone else. What do? They're like, hey, listen, I need to talk to you. They sit down. I heard this, this, and this. Why? What are they seeking? They're seeking clarity. They're seeking clarity, and where are they seeking clarity from? They're seeking it from the source. Why? Because they care about you. If they didn't care about you, why would they even bother asking? They would just take whatever news that they had, and what would they do? They would break the relationship. And I would even challenge it, I would push that relationship to them was essentially meaningless, because it's able to break like this. Right? Relationship should be strong. They ask about me. And this is something that He would constantly do. Where's so-and-so? Hey, I haven't seen so-and-so in a while. Right? People who, if people ask about me, and not just that, if I get a phone call, it was like, hey man, so-and-so is asking about you, how does that make me feel? Right? It makes me feel happy. It makes me feel like man, like this person actually cares about me. This person's actually worried about me. And so giving those feelings, right? Having those positive feelings and infusing them in others, it's so reciprocal, it's so positive. Right? And that's how Islam should be. It should always be like this positive feedback. If I have friends and I have people around me, and like I said, even if we make fun of them and if we do that, right? All of that, what happens after the joke? Right? increases our love. Why? Because like we're laughing together. We're enjoying together. And that's something that, like I said, it not only does it build resilience, it actually builds love. Why? Because that's not everything that you do. Because what are the other things we're doing? We're asking about you. We're giving you advice. You know, how often have we had a friend that kind of pulled us to the side and be like, yo, bro, what are you doing? And in that moment, I might feel like if I have a friend that pulls me to the side and be like, hey, listen, I didn't appreciate that you did this, that. How do I feel in the moment? Huh? I feel embarrassed, right? I feel hurt. But after the advice is over and after that pain washes away, what happens? Right? I feel grateful. But who can feel grateful? What do I need to have essentially to be grateful? I need to be humble. I need to be humble. Otherwise, if a person, all I will take it as like, oh, he's just hating. Oh, he's just criticizing. Oh, he's just trying to put me down. Only humility will allow us to grow. And sometimes, we will have people criticize us with unjust criticism. Yes? Like they'll say things to us or they'll say things about us which are completely untrue. What should I do in those situations? How can I show humility there? Okay, I can not further engage. Okay, what else can I do? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I want to defend, like, so if it's an allegation, right, it's like, hey, you tried to do this. You tried to break a marriage, for example. In that situation, I should actually what? I should defend myself. Be like, no, I'm sorry, that's categorically untrue. What if it's a judge of your character? That I think you're a coward. A lot of the moves you make, like that's how a coward moves. What can I do in that situation? And I don't feel that about myself. I feel like when I'm given the opportunity, even if I feel it's against an institution or somebody who's stronger than me, I have consistently stood up for myself or I've stood up for others. And this is what I know about myself. And somebody comes and says like, oh, I think you're a coward. Right? So over here, I can engage them. And say, well, okay, well, why is it that you think that? Why am I doing that? Right? Because maybe there's a small element of truth in what it is that he has to say. It's like, okay, yeah, you were a coward in this, and this situation, but when it comes to your personal relationships, when it comes to this issue, when it comes to that, when it comes to, when you're getting paid, I don't see that being translated into those spaces. Or that person will be like, oh, well, I just feel that, right? That's also a thing. But I have to give that opportunity, right? I have to. And sometimes people, they make all kinds of wild claims. I remember somebody had written an email to the masjid, and they were like, the new Imam is really sexist. And the reason I knew that it wasn't a big problem, because I had the administration actually come and show me the email. And they were laughing. And I kind of walked away and I was like, dang, am I? And and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to, take meaningful criticism and engage it in a way where it allows us to grow. I mean, but it's like, and I sat there and I was like, no, I don't think that's the case. I don't believe that's to be the case. And someone asked like, well, why is that? I was like, well, most of my clients who come and see me are women. Like, for whatever reason. But if that's the case, like, wouldn't they avoid engaging me, right? Like, if I truly was sexist, like, why would they attend classes? Why would they engage with me, like, in terms of counseling? Why would they come to me with questions? Like, wouldn't you be fearful of a person who's sexist? Like, it did. So I was like, okay, alhamdulillah, I think I'm not. It's still TBD, right? It's still to be decided. But there's still opportunities in front of us, inshallah. So, like I said, the ego, it's very easy to feed the ego, right? It's really easy to feed the ego, to have this belief that you're better, to manifest that belief, that you're better, to start recognizing these different stations and thinking that, oh, I'm actually at this station, or believing I'm at this station, and then acting out. And the arrogant person, like, how do they deal with people around them? They kind of brush them off. Like, they don't really care about them. When they speak, what do? right? Like they minimize them or they'll dismiss them. It's like, oh man, hey, you know what happened to me the other day? It's like, yeah, I got into a car accident. Yeah, I got into a car accident too, right? It's like, dude, what are you doing? And we have to catch ourselves, right? That's something that's really important. That, okay, yes, alhamdulillah, maybe we're not arrogant, but in that moment, it's very easy for us to show arrogance, yes? So we have to be very aware in those spaces and in those places. But we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us. We'll have class next week. Also, if you guys are fasting, Yom Ashura, which will be this Saturday, we will be having an iftar. We encourage everyone to come. Jazakum khair. Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu ala khayri khalqin, nabiyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. If we could just get some help putting the chairs away.